So you want to survive the ancient city, get all the loot and treasure, and escape quietly? Well, I got the tips and advice for you. I mean, it's technically in my name. So today I'm going to be giving you guys all the advice and tips I've acquired over the past few months. I've spent over 200 plus hours in the ancient city in the deep dark. So I've definitely learned my lesson quite a few times. And I'm here to share my tips, my advice, and the things I learned over time. So hopefully you guys can get all the loot, all that treasure, and conquer the ancient city. All while the Warden is taking a nice long nap. So if you guys are new to the channel, I really encourage you to join the stealth army. We got so much 1.19 content on the way, as well as 1.20, because Minecraft Live isn't that far away. Believe it or not, after summertime, we're gonna start getting those trailers. So I really appreciate all the support, and let's dive into it with tip number 1. Which is, take your time. I know this sounds really obvious, but in my opinion, the ancient city is really a test of patience. And coming from someone who's extremely impatient, I really had to learn to slow down. And this all goes together with taking your time. And if you feel like you're the type of person who just doesn't like to move slow, you just like to be all over the place, I guess that's okay, but at the end of the day, you're making it more difficult for yourself. So move slow, crouch as much as possible, and minimize your movements. Now, when I say minimize, it really just means know exactly which block you need to be on and where you need to go. Just map out everything in your mind, and then that way you minimize movements and you prevent unnecessary vibrations. Tip number 2. Observe your surroundings, which sounds obvious. I mean, all of these tips I'm sharing in today's video seem rather obvious, but they can be terribly difficult when you're in a dark, exciting, and new environment. But these sculk blocks will capitalize on your mistakes. So we have to make sure that you're not making any mistakes. And if you do make one mistake, that's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to die, like the Warden's going to instantly wake up. But one mistake can often lead to 2 mistakes, which is why it's so crucial that you observe your surroundings. Let's say we find a treasure area. We find an area that has loot. That is your objective. You want what's inside the chest. So you notice a couple sensors and a couple shriekers, which are technically the main enemies here. Like, these are your main problems in the ancient city, which I will be talking about very soon, how to take care of both of these, the shriekers and the sensors. But let's say you observe there's 2 or 3 near the chest. So, of course, you want to take care of that before you go for the loot. Or you're just going to wake up the Warden. Now, a lot of people are just going to assume that what they see is exactly what's there, which in most cases, I've ran into shriekers behind the chest area. Sometimes there's sensors underneath the chest area, so there will be other sculk blocks that you can't necessarily see from a certain angle. So I've gotten into the habit of assuming that there's more shriekers than I can actually see, and there's more sensors than I can actually see. Because if you accidentally set off a shrieker or a sensor, there will be an entire chain reaction to any sensors or shriekers that are in a close vicinity. So in reality, one mistake truly can lead to your demise, which is why it's so important to observe your surroundings and minimize any type of mistakes. Let's move on to tip number 3, which is how exactly do we deal with the true enemy here, which is the sculk family. The Warden is an effect. It is the reaction to something that you caused, which is vibrations, right? We want to prevent vibrations at all cost, which is exactly why you want to bring as much wool as possible. This block is the solution to acquiring everything in the ancient city that you want. And it really allows for you to move freely. So bring as much wool as you possibly can. Or if you have a shulker box, an ender chest, fill it all the way up with wool. And then that way you don't have to worry about running short. Now, if you're like me and you started a new world for 1.19, there are still solutions, because more than likely you're not going to have an ender chest, because those are more mid-game to end-game type of items. So I would suggest having at least 2 rows of wool. And you can always restock in the ancient city, but if you don't want to completely destroy the ancient city, I can understand if someone would want to leave it intact, then you want to go with at least 2 rows of wool. Now, in this picture here, which I was successful in acquiring all the loot in the ancient city, you can see that I had about 1 row of wool. And I did get all this wool from the woodland mansion, so if you do have a woodland mansion nearby, this is also a really great area to acquire a ton of wool. Or if you have a world already that you've been playing in, you probably already have a sheep farm. I didn't in this situation, but I was able to go into the ancient city and leave within like an hour and a half with what I was able to collect from the woodland mansion. Or if you want to, you can get all your wool from the ancient city, but that also means that you're risking creating vibrations. So yes, it is reckless, and I know a lot of people that don't want to destroy the ancient city, that they want to keep it intact. So this might not be the solution, the answer for you. So however much wool you think you'll need, double the amount, because you want to be able to block every sensor and every shrieker. Especially if you're paranoid, you're probably going to be blocking every single sculk block. But honestly, as long as you have enough to block the shriekers, you should be okay. That shouldn't be a problem after you block the shriekers. I would go the extra mile and block the sensors as well, just because you can't necessarily see everything. It's super dark, so just be careful about the sensors as well. Now, my next tip is for those of you who actually create vibrations, who actually set off the shrieker or sensor. And I have a feeling that more people are going to do this than those that don't. It's just inevitable. It's a very tough environment for a lot of players. It's not meant to be easy. And if you do accidentally set off a shrieker or sensor, which has happened to me plenty of times, what got me through it was standing still, not moving. And if you're like me and you start panicking, especially after hearing this noise, yeah, your heart's going to start racing. Your hands are probably going to start shaking a little bit, like my hands start shaking. So let go of the keyboard and mouse, let go of the controller if you have to. Just take a second to breathe and calm down, because if not, then you're probably going to accidentally set off another shrieker or create another vibration. Like, things will happen, your hand will slip. So it's just important to calm down, take a second to breathe, let go of the controller, let go of the mouse and keyboard if you have to, and it will keep you alive. You will stay alive if you do nothing. I promise you, it's okay, you're not dead yet. My next tip is for those of you who actually do summon the Warden, which I have escaped from the Warden a couple times. And this can be really challenging because you see this monster come out of the ground and you're already just panicking. You're like, holy cow, I'm about to die. My first advice for you is to create some distance, because the Warden can smell you, and it can of course pick up vibrations. So this is a very deadly creature. You can use snowballs to distract it, you can use other objects, possibly like eggs, to distract the Warden, and then that way it gives you some time to escape. So having something you can toss, having something that you can use to create other vibrations from a greater distance will be very helpful. But the issue here is that the Warden can still smell you, so you have to be at a certain distance, right? Or else it's just gonna find you eventually, and it will kill you, more than likely. So if you don't have anything that you can use to distract the Warden, I would honestly suggest that you simply start running. It doesn't really matter which area you go. I know it's terribly dark, especially when you're under pressure. Like, running in a dark environment while being chased is really hard. And of course, you're bound to set off even more shriekers and more sensors. So at this point, it's just like trying to escape is your top priority. Very challenging, but your main goal here is to create some distance and have the Warden trying to figure out where exactly are you. And of course, it does have a ranged attack. It has the sonic boom attack, which can reach you up to 20 blocks above. So if you're not higher than 20 blocks, the sonic boom attack will hit you. It can bypass enchanted armor as well as shields. So this is a very lethal move. So if you really want to keep all your gear, you don't want to lose anything, I would honestly consider investing in a really good pickaxe and being able to chunk out blocks rapidly and create that distance that you desperately need within a short amount of time. So I really do hope some of these tips helped out. If you guys want to see me make a part 2 or share some other tips in the Ancient City and Deep Dark, let me know down below in the comment section. I always encourage you guys to share your own tips and advice. What would you say to new players that are joining Minecraft and experiencing the Ancient City and Deep Dark for the first time? Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. So take care. Peace.